not. European markets also closed more or less in the red. There you see DAX was down 1/5%, CAC 40 0.5%, and the FTSE about 0.28%. We have with us right now, joining me, T.S. Harihar, and also I have Ruchit Jain with me. But before that, let's try and see if the rupee has opened, because we've seen almost a 2.5% correction in the rupee since the 8th of November. It was looking slightly stronger today, and the pre-open on Nifty and Sensex is also looking slightly stronger. So today the rupee is looking slightly stronger. So 68, about 0.05% up, but at least better than what we've seen in the last few days. Let's please start with TS. Have you, as you see more and more data points come in, as more and more issues are being discussed about demonetization, is there a change in the way you're looking at it?
See, there are two ways to look at it. One is, what I call a long-term philosophical approach, and I think from that perspective, definitely, I think what he is trying perhaps is a good move. But I think what I'm worried about more is a short-term perspective, and the short-term perspective is the impact it's having on liquidity. And the impact on liquidity is something you can see and I can see probably at every street corner. Today I'm told the two-wheeler sales are down by about 40%. Consumer goods are down by about 28%. And all this has happened since 8th of November. Compare it with the similar 10-day period in the last 1 month or 1 year.
Right.
So the fact of the matter at the ground level is that there is definitely a massive impact as far as the crunch is concerned. Now all these are going to translate into lower auto numbers, lower consumer goods numbers when we get the numbers for November and December. So I think the December quarter could actually be a big negative hit as far as the Indian markets are concerned, and I think that is a big worry as far as the demonetization is concerned. I'm not really worried about what are the long-term benefits. Probably there are some benefits, but I think short-term the crunch is going to be quite bad.
All right, so I see that you've gone into the defensive, you've taken Infosys and TCS, but you also have Havells here. That's an interesting choice. But just take us through your calls for our viewers right now, TS.
See, 2 out of my 3 calls are from the IT sector, and for obvious reasons, because the rupee has already depreciated from about 66.6 levels to 68.13, and our belief is that this time around we could see the previous low of 68.7 getting breached decisively, and the INR could actually get closer to the 70 mark. So we are actually having the first call is on Infosys, where we like it for 2 reasons. One is we like it because of the dollar play, and secondly because we believe that the price is very attractive. So we have a call on Infosys. For a similar reason, we also have a call on TCS, and our third call is a slightly, what I would say a dual-edged call, which is Havells. Now Havells is a stock that has been hit quite badly in the recent carnage. It has corrected from about 440 down to about 320. Now we believe that Havells is a company that could benefit substantially from the GST, as in when it starts on April 2017. And therefore at these prices we believe that the downside risk is quite limited. So Havells is actually a third pick today.
All right, Havells is our third pick. Ruchit Jain is there with me. Ruchit, what are you doing? What is looking technically strong at the moment?
Hi, good morning. Well, overall, if we see the Nifty index, then definitely after last weeks of correction, the momentum readings are quite in oversold zone. If we observe the RSI, a smooth and oscillator, then it is trading around the levels of 11. And historically, whenever such lower levels have seen, usually the markets tend to give a sharp pullback rally. So I've selected a couple of stocks which could be a pullback play, just because of this oversold momentum readings even in the stocks. The first pick is to go long on Axis Bank. Now we have seen completion of a 5-wave impulsive down move at the recent lows, and hence we are expecting a pullback move at least up to 38.2% of this entire corrective move. Even in this stock, the oversold momentum readings are indicating that the pullback could be very sharp. So one can go long around current levels with a stop loss below 449, expecting a target of around 515, and one should have a time frame of at least around 15 to 20 trading sessions for such kind of up move in this stock. And my second call is a buy call in Reliance Capital. Well, another stock which I have chosen just to play a pullback rally in this stock. The prices are currently trading near the 200 days of simple moving average on the daily charts. Also on the weekly charts, this level coincides with 89 days of exponential moving average. The momentum readings are oversold in this stock too. So pullback rally from the zone of 425 to 430 range could be expected. So one can look to buy between 425 to 430. Keep a stop loss below 414, expecting a target of around 470.
All right. I also now have SV Prasad with me. SV, you have been been very, very, I would say, patriotic about your view about demonetization. The last time I spoke to you, I see that your picks are, I mean, more or less in line with what you have always done.
Right.
Nothing significantly has changed. I can see HPCL, SBI, but what is the logic behind M&M?
See, M&M, see, right now there will be a blip because of all this, this demonetization having an impact in the rural economy. But the monsoon has been good. The numbers for July, September has been pretty good. So I would look at M&M. M&M is a proxy in some sense for the rural economy with respect to as far as the tractor business is concerned, which is a big aspect of the business. So I frankly think, I was hearing all the other gentlemen on the channel as well. I frankly think this is a time to pick up good quality stocks on declines. I've just named three. One could do more research, and good quality stocks is the best time to pick up. I personally think, though I've not done the numbers, it's still early to do the numbers, that whatever impact it has in terms of bottom line, etc., will get more than compensated in terms of more deposits to the bank being able to lend, and more importantly, the ultimate quantum of currency that's not going to come back to the system at all. Now, what's going to be the accounting of that thing? Is it going to reduce the fisc? What's it going to happen? To my mind, that's going to be a huge bonanza as far as the government is concerned, and the economy getting more legit. You're going to get more taxation and more circulation of money in the system.
But right now, if you queue up in front of a bank, SV, and I see that when I queued up on Saturday, because I was a client and clients they were going to service, there were people who had come with demand draft orders, and they said that please don't come with demand draft orders or anything right now. We just do giving out cash or taking deposits. So almost across the board, I would imagine that all transactions other than taking deposits or handing out cash have been put on hold in the entire banking system. So this quarter appears to be a place where no work will be done in banks.
No, I'm sorry, I beg to differ. Maybe in individual banks there could be problems. Like I went and deposited checks as well in my bank Saturday before last, just immediately after, a few days after this bombshell was announced. They accepted my checks. I mean, I had 3 checks, all cross checks. Everything was accepted. So there could be individual banks
that those will be accepted. I agree with you that checks will be accepted. They'll be probably processed, but new loans, I have not got a single call in the last 7-8 days from a person asking me to take a loan, because I have a standard rule that as soon as I pick up the phone and I hear a thing, I said, "Madam, aap loan dena chahte hain?" They say, "Yes." I said, "Mujhe nahi lena hai." But the point is, I haven't got that call.
Certainly, that will not happen. I think that will not happen. I think once the SBI chairman, she's been assuaging everybody, because they're in some sense the proxy for the banking system. They are roughly about 25% of the entire banking system in the country.
Right.
And she has been assuaging that, look, because she seems to be pretty much on top of things. Yes, there will be definitely inconvenience, and the Prime Minister himself has said, look, give me 50 days.
Right.
So as I mentioned in the last time as well, a little bit of inconvenience, and I'm sure you're also getting a lot of WhatsApp, people standing in lines for various purposes, and why not a little bit for this? Yes, there will be temporary impact. I'm not saying no.
Right. In fact, those who were standing in line for Coldplay apparently weren't standing in line for money. Well, let me go back to TS. TS, I see you don't have any banks, because I have the same question for you. To me, it appears that the entire banking system is going to have higher costs in terms of overtime, running electricity, keeping people on, security. They'll have higher costs because they're going to do all these transactions, ATM transactions, which they can't charge for, and they will have to postpone most of their business oriented work, like increasing their loan portfolio and stuff like that.
See, over time, ATM charges put together, I don't think would be really substantial. To me, what is probably more important is 2 things. First is, the loss of productivity in banks. And, I have visited a couple of private banks in the last few days. And, what the managers are telling me is that literally all other work has come to a standstill, be it lending, be it credit assessment. almost all the work has come to a standstill because all the manpower is right now being just utilized to handle customers and transactions. So the real reason why a bank exists, that has come to a standstill. The bigger problem I see is that, we need to understand that a lot of these smaller NBFCs, they actually borrow from banks and then they give out small loans. Right. So in a way, the NBFCs actually become the last mile connectivity as far as the banks are concerned. Now, most of these NBFCs has got into a real liquidity grind. Now, this is actually going to impact a lot of the last mile lending that happens from the banks via the NBFCs. So, I think that would probably hit banks a lot more in the next 3 months than anything else. So, I am worried about that, and I continue to be cautious on banks till the time this entire liquidity situation eases out.
Ruchit, is there anything that you're looking at in terms of, you have given Axis Bank as well, but PSU banks, a lot of people are saying that they will have much higher CASA, they'll be able to earn a little bit more, their cost of capital will go down. Is there anything that you're seeing technically in the PSU banking space which looks good to you?
Yeah, technically, some of the PSU banks I think could outperform the broader bank nifty itself, which we have recently seen, and rather than even in last 4 or 5 trading sessions where we have seen price correction coming in the bank nifty and some of the private sector banks, these PSU banks have shown more of a sideways movement, which is a time-wise correction rather than price correction. So this is one of the positive sign which is indicating that going forward, PSU banks, we may see some sort of outperformance compared to a bank nifty or other private sector banks. If you go stock specific, I think one should clearly focus on the large caps itself within the PSUs rather than going with the mid cap stocks, because the leadership would definitely come with the large cap stocks before the mid cap would start moving in. So I think SBI is one of the stocks which is showing one of a time-wise correction in last few trading sessions, and also rather if we just observe last 4 or 5 months of trend also, then definitely it's more of an uptrend only rather than any major corrective moves which we have not seen. So on the higher side, 300, 295 is the range. I think it's quite possible the stock could go, and even if the stock corrects, it would show more of a time-wise correction rather than price correction. So I would not focus much on the mid-cap PSU bank space as of now, but till the leadership comes from SBI or even Bank of Baroda from at current levels also, I think one should be focused on these 2 names itself.
All right, we'll be speaking to the management of Bank of Baroda today. But let's just quickly take you through some stocks and news. Just about 3 minutes left for the markets to open. Some of those stocks will react to numbers and what is still happening while demonetization is on. All right. NBCC, its numbers are out. Sales were up 18%, EBITDA up 14%. But in terms of PAT, the performance has not been dramatic, 1.5% up. Gujarat Gas, sales are down 21%, but look at what has happened in terms of EBITDA and PAT, 45% up, and profit after tax is up 146%. RCF, sales down 26%, EBITDA down 13%, and PAT down 6.5%. Mavana Sugars, we've got news that they're planning to sell their plant in UP. It's in Titavi in UP, and they're going to get to Indian Potash for 375 crores, out of which 150 crores they plan to use to pay cane farmers. Karnataka Bank, their rights issue date has been extended by a week. It was supposed to end today, but it's now ending on the 28th. HDFC, it has assigned its loans, the loans that it has given to Unitech, it has handed them over to JVN Financial ARC. Alembic Pharma, they've got a approval from US FDA to sell 2 drugs. One is for blood pressure and the other is amlodipine, which is to treat angina pain. Dilip Buildcon, they've got a 198 crore EPC project in Andhra Pradesh. GE Shipping, the company has sold the support vessel called Great Ship Ragini. And there's news also from Shree Cement. They've made a preliminary offer of I think about 15 rupees a share to buy Orissa based Shiva Cement. So this is a preliminary offer. They want to take majority stake in Shree Cement. So this is broadly what we're seeing. NHPC numbers have also come out. The profit has gone up sharply, but that's mostly driven by other income. Its top line is more or less flat, and actually margins have contracted on NHPC. So these are the numbers. They're Nifty at pre-open closed at about 8102. So above that pivot of the day, which we said is about 8084. Watch out what happens. Let's just look at the big cap space, just about 5 seconds left for the markets to open, and we expect the big opening to start with Bank of Baroda, the banks to do reasonably well. The Asian Paints back up 1%, BHEL 0.6% up, Aurobindo Pharma 0.5% up, Bank of Baroda 1% up, and there you see the Nifty has opened around the pivot 8086. Tata Motors down, but now almost flat, now in the green. NTPC 0.4% down, up. HDFC down 0.5%, Sun Pharma 0.4% up. Infosys has corrected a little bit, but now again coming more or less into the green, but a 0.25% down. Axis Bank 0.25% up, Z Entertainment 1.2% up. Asian Paints making a comeback. It opened almost 1% down, but now almost back in the green. ITC goes into the red. So little bit of volatility, and the Nifty has slipped into the red as we opened. Ambuja Cements goes into the red, Bharti Airtel. So as soon as you find a slight bit of buying coming into the market, then we see a bit of a sell-off, and then again closer to that 8050 level you find buying again. So there is that volatility that's taking place, and again we'll have to wait and see what happens through the day. This is broadly the opening we are getting. HUL down again 0.6%, Maruti flat but in the red, L&T flat in the green. You'd see a lot of these stocks actually move up and down. M&M, that's on the buy list of our experts today, up about 0.25%. Hero MotoCorp also up about 1/3%. Bajaj Auto up about 0.4%. Gujarat Gas, as we mentioned, the numbers were stellar there, up 6% at the moment. Alembic Pharma, 2 years FDA now 3.4% up on that counter as well. Techno Electric up about 7.9%. There's a news that's out there. I'll just update you in just a couple of seconds on Techno Electric as well. And India Cement, as we mentioned, cement stocks are making a bit of a comeback after that initial sell-off. India Cement, Shree Cement, all of these counters have over the last few days made a bit of a comeback. Power Grid up about 0.5%, Z Entertainment. PC Jewelers continues its bad run. All the jewelry stocks have taken a beating. PC Jewelers down about 1.5% right now, but a lot of volatility. We'll just have to watch out what happens. Let's just quickly take a look at the top turnover counters. We've done about 2 minutes of trade. We're going to look at the counters which have the maximum amount of money being exchanging hands, at least notionally, the highest turnover counters, and we're going to track we're going to stack them up according to the maximum change. Upper Ganges Sugar is up 9%. Sugar stocks are suddenly doing well. Dwarikesh Sugar up 5.5%. Gujarat Gas is up, as we mentioned, 5.5%. There you see Dwarikesh and Upper Ganges, they've the maximum turnover right now, and they're up. India Cements up 2.6%. Engineers India Limited up about 1.8%. Hindalco, it had been volatile throughout the last week. It lost about 3%, but today it's up 1%. RBL Bank 1% up. Union Bank of India up about 1%. Bank of India up about 1%. So the PSU bank space doing reasonably well right now. In terms of big losers, then we have for you Techno Electric, that is down 7.3%. IndusInd Bank is down 1.3%. DLF continues its bad run, down 1.2%. It's lost. Alright, Techno Electric is now up. HPL Electric and Power is down about 7.3%. And let me just correct what I said right now. Techno Electric is up at the moment about 6-7%. So that's the broad picture we're getting from the markets right now, and we just have to wait and see, because all these days we've seen that we've had a bit of a positive opening, the market goes up, and then there's a sell-off towards the end of the day. All right, before I go back to our guests, I just want to quickly read out a report that Macquarie has put out on Godrej Consumer. And they've spoken to the management, and they've come out with an outperform rating with 117.62 rupees, 1762. That's their target. And they're saying that they spoke to the management sees the effect of demonetization. It will be the maximum on the hair color segment, where cash transactions are the maximum. But they think that soaps will not be affected. So they expect the wholesale channel, the channel through which they sell their products, obviously it goes to a wholesaler, and usually all FMCG companies, actually the last mile is mostly cash, and they say that the wholesale channel will be affected. Revenues from wholesale channel itself is 40%, so they expect that to be a bit of a problem, but they say that it's difficult to right now assess what kind of an impact it's going to have over the immediate future. But they're saying that advertising and publicity spend in India will be lower in Q3. Not good news for broadcasters, let me tell you. And they don't expect, but the big takeaway from the conversation that Macquarie has had is that the long-term structural demand is not going to be hit. They don't expect that to be hit at all. It's broadly this particular Macquarie report more or less kind of mirrors what you have been saying, that there will be short-term pain, but long-term there shouldn't be much of a change. I just want to focus a little bit on the SME sector. Now, yesterday I was trying to work out some data on SMEs, and it appears that a recent report by MasterCard, for instance, suggested that India has only 12 lakh point of sale machines where you can use credit and debit cards. 10 crore traders, small merchants, have just 12 lakhs. So penetration is just 1.2%. 45% of the GDP is provided by small businesses, small contractors, small traders. They employ 46 crore people. That is mostly a cash operation. Now, that is bound to take a big hit.
No, certainly. I mean, there's no getting away from it. And one of the other points I frankly think which Reserve Bank and the government will have to seriously look at is that some of the NBFC last mile and microfinance last mile where the repayments happen in cash. Now, there could be technical defaults, and what could happen is it could spiral. I frankly expect the Reserve Bank to give some kind of a relaxation on that. Now, what the metrics will be, we'll have to wait and watch. Otherwise, it will certainly have implications, because if those loans are called as default loans, then these microfinance and NBFCs have to provide for capital on that and margin on that, and then it cascades back into the banking system. So certainly, seeing the way that this government seems to be responding with alacrity, I would hope and pray that the Reserve Bank and the government quickly cottons on to that, and the banks also make a representation and not wait for the last minute when the repayment problems happen. That's clearly what I expect to happen. The other quick thing I just wanted to mention is that yes, there would be every time there's an up, there would be a decline. And to me, one of the big indicators is what is FI net sales, net plus minus, which is about 30 odd thousand crores, mutual funds 30 odd thousand crores. So therefore, clearly domestics are buying every time there is a they're buying.
There's an argument there that one can give, because when banks are getting so many deposits, 5 lakh crores, some of that money is going to go into the stock market. So domestic buying includes banks, it includes domestic financial institutions, insurance. There is LIC, which is likely to come in and support, because we know we've always known, finance ministry sends out a thing informally to LIC, to government institutions when markets fall, that come in and support. There's nothing wrong in that. We've seen that happen throughout the UPA period, and it's unlikely that it wouldn't have happened right now.
Yeah, I'm not even bothered about that. Even if you look at private mutual funds, the SIP is continuing to happen. So these guys also have a decent amount of money. So therefore, every time there's an FI sale happening, because FIs have been selling fairly consistently last quite a few days. Right. You've been seeing the domestics stepping into the market. So it's a bit of a bear bull tussle that happens in the market, which is good for the market. Right. Therefore, one cannot expect a dramatic, certainly, growth in the markets. But clearly, I think there is liquidity, because if this liquidity was not there, markets could have gone for a tailspin fall.
Right. TS, about the SME space. 17% of all outstanding loans in the Indian banking system is to the SMEs. So that works out to about approximately 13 lakh crore. 6.5 lakh crore is the existing NPA estimate that's being made. 13 lakh crore, 75% of their financing is from either self or informal sector. That is going to dry out. There is a big NPA problem that could build up.
You're absolutely right. In fact, that's what I was saying some time back. that the big risk today for banks is not their core banking operation, but the last mile connectivity with the customer, especially the rural customers, which comes through these self-help groups, through these small MFIs, large MFIs, informal lending channels. So these are the people who are really going, because let's understand one thing, the disbursal probably happens through an ECS or a check, but then the collection actually happens in small tranches in cash. So a farmer or a small trader in a rural area of Maharashtra actually pays a small amount of, let's say, 1,000, 2,000 per month in cash. No, he can't pay that by check, so he pays in cash, and the collections are done in cash. Yeah. So I think these are the kind of transactions that are going to be affected. Now the tragedy of the whole scenario is that when a businessman needs to be going and standing outside his customer's office, he's actually going and standing outside the ATM or the bank. So I think that loss of productivity is what I am really bothered about.
Right. Exactly. Imtiaz Qureshi is with us at the moment. Imtiaz, let me take your calls right now. I know it's a little late for our viewers, but never too late, I guess, right now.
Yes, very good morning. First of all, I would like to take Sun Pharma on the chart. We had seen a very good rally in last couple of trading sessions, and I think this trading sessions till expiry would be very highly volatile. And the way the base is getting formation for the pharmaceutical, I think the Sun Pharma will give a better result in coming days. So keeping a stop loss of around 660, on a higher side expecting 739. The second would be my Bharti Airtel. Last time also I had given this same call, and keeping this trend continuing, maybe there would be a big problem with the demonetization for the telecom, but entire technical base look very much positive for the Bharti Airtel, keeping a stop loss of 294 for the target of 330. And lastly, I'm looking for the M&M auto sectors as a buy, because most of the auto sectors stock has gone into the oversold zone, and if at all market give a recovery from here, then we would definitely see some sort of a buying coming in the auto sectors, because these are the sectors which has been heavily beaten right now. Right. So keeping a stop loss of around 220 can take a target of 1321.
Okay, I just want to quickly pull up the Nifty intraday if we can, because we did hit the first support, which is at about 8039. So we went down to that level. The day's low is 8039, and from there we've seen a little bit of buying, but still below that important level of 8050. Important in the sense that it's a psychological level. So there you see 8056. Again, Friday's low for us was 8048. So we've traded below Friday's low and still trading below Friday's low. Ruchit, real estate stocks, is there any signal that you're getting right now that it's heavily oversold, that the tide might turn a little bit?
So we observe all the three which are usually highly traded: DLF, Indiabulls Real Estate, and even SDIL. Although the momentum readings are gone in oversold zone in the real estate after the recent sell-off, but price-wise we are not seeing any kind of buying momentum coming in these stocks. Right. So still there, until there is no signs of reversal coming on the charts, I think since this sector is one of the mostly this is one of the most highly volatile sector, and especially after this demonetization news which has come out. So I would still avoid trading in this in this sector itself. Let some base form, let some consolidation take place in this sector. I think then only some upside momentum could pick up. I don't think there would be any kind of V-shaped recovery coming in this stock. Yes, some sort of pullback moves could be there, but before the uptrend again resumes in the stock, there would be a long phase of consolidation which would take place. So I would wait for that consolidation phase to come on, and then only I would consider taking any long positions in this sector.
All right. I'm asking a hypothetical question to both the TS and SV right now, and let's imagine that in August 2017 the RBI gives about 2 lakh crore to the government as special dividend. For the past 2 years it's been given about 66,000 crores. So on the 1st of February the finance minister can actually write it in his budget as a possible receipt. Right? Later what happens is a separate issue, but 2 lakh crores. Let's imagine that once the entire thing is closed and you have higher taxes paid out right now, that you get a leeway of another 1.5 lakh crores. So let's say the government has 3.5 lakh crores in its hand. I'm just being very optimistic right now. Let's say 3.5 lakh crores it has in its hands. If you were the finance minister or the prime minister and in consultation with the finance minister SV, what would you spend that 3.5 lakh crores on?
I think that has to go into a combination of infrastructure and social security, because this Prime Minister has been talking a lot on social security. So these would be the two sectors to focus on. Keep something for a rainy day, of course. You don't blow up the entire money. But I would, my suggestion would be spending on social security for the below poverty line through a direct benefit transfer and not through any other means. Especially medical health is one area where I'll focus, and primary education and infrastructure. These would be the two sectors that I would suggest.
TS, there's an argument to be made that by the 30th of December, almost all of India will have to get banked, because they'll have to exchange whatever money they have in their hands. And the poorest probably already have some sort of an account or will get into that account to get DBT. And with the extra money in its hand, or maybe the government will say that, okay, I don't want a 3.5% deficit, I'll increase it to 3.8%, let's say, because the rating agencies haven't helped us by staying within that deficit margin. So let's say it has 3.5-4 lakhs to spend. Where would you spend it? Would you give that money straight through DBT to the poor to revive demand, which has been affected by demonetization?
Absolutely. I think that would be the smartest thing to do, because by December 30th, I would believe that if the demonetization continues the way it is continuing, I would believe that the demand constriction could be a lot more serious, I think a lot more problematic, and we could see a lot more defaults happening in the last mile as far as the lending business is concerned. So the point is that there is going to be a lot of pain, and the best thing to do is what I call helicopter money for the poor. So now you take the money, do a DBT, distribute it, and you can alleviate some of the pain. But then that brings us back to a fundamental question. If you're going to create pain and then give them money to alleviate the pain, then why create the pain at all? So I think that is a fundamental question that the government needs to ask itself before it decides what it's going to do with the 2 lakh crores that it's going to get as a RBI dividend.
Do you think that there is going to be a drop in indirect tax collections? I know we're saying direct taxes will go up because of demonetization, but the kind of impact it's having on the, sales of companies, is there an indirect tax problem that we are facing?
See, a lot of the SMEs that are actually getting squeezed by this, demonetization, they're not exactly, contributing substantially to the, indirect tax kitty of the government. Like, for example, take the Indian corporate sector. Reliance alone, the Reliance Group alone contributes nearly 7% to India's total excise and customs collections. Right. So the indirect taxes are predominantly what I call an urban phenomenon, not so much a rural phenomenon. So I don't think the indirect taxes are actually going to get hit substantially. On the contrary, what I believe is that because of a greater shift towards, what I call a digital approach to business, we could actually see indirect taxes rising rather than indirect taxes falling.
As we you said that it's going to be a combination of giving cash out to the poor and spending on infrastructure. So do you think that the bets have completely reversed? That we were saying that infrastructure will take almost a year to go, spend on consumption facing, consumer discretionary, home improvement. Now it's completely reversed, and now you're back at the drawing board and looking at infrastructure companies, at capital goods companies?
Yeah, certainly one can look at that. The other quick point I just wanted to also mention is that, look, the pain that all this unorganized sector would have faced with GST, I think in some sense it will be a lot easier now. I mean, maybe this is a unintended positive consequence, because they will now get their act together in terms of getting more legit, or taking things through digital ways of taking money. So when GST comes, I think GST implementation would be a lot easier. But the point you make, I definitely agree that there would certainly be a lot more emphasis on infra and infra-based spending. And also, what we should not forget is infra is a direct benefit in terms of employment in the unorganized sector. Because when you put a road or a port, or a road especially, roads, rail, etc. Now these all benefit, or a dam or whatever, is benefits a lot of unorganized sector employment. So I expect that to happen. And GST, frankly, rollout is going to be a lot easier.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen. But before I let you go, I'll just need to take your disclosures. Let me start with Ruchit there.
Well, I don't have a personal holding in any of the stocks that we have discussed today, but both those recommendations which I have given Reliance Capital and Axis Bank have already been recommended to our clients also.
Imtiaz, sorry we couldn't have too long a chat today, but if you could just give us your disclosures.
Yes, the recommendation, whatever we had given, as not personally, I'm not holding any of the positions.
All right. SV?
SBI and HPCL. You know, I have a small holding in both these kind of counters.
Okay. And finally, TS Harihar.
I have a small exposure to Infi and Havels, but I think we can assume that the other stocks we have recommended to our clients.
All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us. We'll just quickly take a break and we'll be back with some brokerage calls on the other side.